I just liked seeing on your face that you didn't know where it was going.
I open my mouth to speak before I know what I'm going to say, and that often gets me into trouble.
Or get you a podcast.
I'm Charlie Sohn, a screenwriter and journalist.
I'm Agnes Reese, a pop singer and songwriter.
And this is Mysteries of the Euroverse.
On this episode, we're reporting on Eurovision 2025 from Basel.
First, we give you updates on this year's contest directly from the press center.
Then, we interview 3 Eurovision 2025 contestants: Switzerland's Zoë Më, Australia's Gojo, and Ukraine's Ziferblat.
Finally, we sit down with television and Broadway writer Aurin Squire for a game about songwriting at Eurovision 2025 that we're calling It Takes Two to Tango, but many more to EuroDance.
Take a look behind the scenes at all the scandal songs and queens. So come along as we traverse all the mysteries of the Euroverse. All the mysteries of the Euroverse.
We are here for a very special episode of Mysteries of the Euroverse.
We are in the press center right now in Basel, Switzerland.
It is a gorgeous sunny day in Basel, and we are in a dark corner.
But you were right last week. Basel is sunny.
Yes.
At the moment of recording this, we are about to go into semifinal 1.
Yes.
As you're listening to this, you will have just seen the results of semifinal 1.
And I think everyone made great choices. One of the big changes this year is the way the semifinal results are being announced.
So up until this year, what they've done is they announce one country at a time who gets through. And they tried a change with this a couple of years ago, where they wanted to do it a little bit more American Idol style, like line them all up on stage.
It's a pretty sleepy public broadcaster format for announcing the results.
Yes.
Or it was. And so there's always been, in this new era of commercialization of Eurovision, a push to make the show more engaging in a sort of modern way.
The first big change with this that came years ago was when they split the jury and the televote points. What happened in too many Eurovisions is we knew the winner halfway through the votes, and then we still go through the rest of the votes, and that was just not very exciting.
Yes.
Now they're able to do it in a way where up until the very last point is given out, we don't know who's winning.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the attempted change a couple years ago, and then we can sort of...
the attempted change a few years ago was to bring everyone up on stage.
Yeah, just like
Twitter.
in a line. And,
in a line.
And if you didn't make the qualifying round, you would get shot.
Yeah, no, oh my God.
They put everybody up on stage. That way you could see the artists' reactions of disappointment at not getting it. So this is why there was that backlash.
So this split screen moment is what they're doing is they still announce the 10 qualifiers in random order, but they also draw 2 random countries to do a split screen with.
Yes.
So they will say, here's the first country that goes through. You will see a split screen between 3 countries.
Yeah.
One of them will go through. 2 of them will not go through in that announcement.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're not through. And I think the idea of this, even though they might be disappointed not going through, it doesn't mean that they've been eliminated. So hopefully, potentially, it's not like destroying people's hopes and dreams porn.
Yeah, it's very funny to me. This is like where, as an American, I find this like completely confusing.
You're like, isn't that why you're on a show?
Yeah, well, it really does speak to this tension within Eurovision between the public broadcaster model and the commercial model.
Yeah.
It's like the idea that there was backlash within the community, I was like, what is going on here? There's kind of an almost delightful throwback kind of expectation among the Eurovision community that we are a little bit more of a sort of white-gloved kind of affair that always sits very awkwardly against this post-2000 era of Eurovision where we're producing like one of the most watched television programs in the world. And obviously because of that, there is now an incentive to make it more American Idol.
And listen, as you're listening to this, you can take a look at how the split screen went because semifinal 1 is up.
I also will say at the end of this episode, the 2 of us are going to be in a split screen and one of us is going to get kicked off the podcast.
Oh,
it's going to be interesting.
Very American.
Yeah. So moving to the final little update that we wanted to talk about, one of the big flashpoints at Eurovision is the flag rule.
Flag rule has traditionally basically been what flags are allowed inside the venue where the whole thing is filmed.
The rule as it previously existed was the national flags of countries that are competing and also the gay pride flag.
Yeah, the rainbow flag.
The rainbow flag. Then on a case-by-case basis, like I believe the Sami flag was eventually allowed.
Well, this is where it gets tricky because the thing is, when your rule is about what's allowed, then everything else is not allowed. And then you unintentionally make things not allowed.
If you look at our interview with Jean-Philippe Detender from the EBU last year, him having to justify why political flags are not allowed at Eurovision, but why the pride flag was always sort of an awkward thing for them. Like, what absolutely was not allowed was, let's say, a Palestinian flag, right?
Right.
Or
but also they even got into trouble with the EU flag, right?
Right, the EU flag.
And the funny thing is the EU basically stands for all the things that Eurovision does.
Really, this whole thing was an attempt at like privileging certain political issues over other political issues, right? The change this year is that within the arena, if you are an audience member, if you are a fan, you can bring in whatever flag you want as long as it doesn't violate like Swiss law, Basel laws, all that stuff. On stage, the only flags that are allowed are the national flags of the participating countries. This has been reported as Eurovision bans the LGBT or the pride flag from...
Even Nemo has come out against this. And this is a moment where I kind of blame the media a little bit more than the EBU, because I think the EBU made this very simple.
Yeah.
Like, these people are participating for a nation, and we leave it at that.
Last year, the problem was a lack of consistency and a lack of a rule. And it stuck out like a sore thumb that, you know, with the number of human rights issues that Europe and the world at large is confronting, for the EBU, I mean, obviously, I am pro-gay. I am gay myself. What? I know, shocking. But for them to be like, well, this is a human rights issue, heavily implied that all of these other causes or national movements or anything weren't human rights.
And to clarify, you know, the EBU's positioning was very much that the pride flag wasn't political; it was values. But this idea is that now you put yourself in a position where you have to define what is values and what is politics.
Which means that being anti-genocide was not a value in the eyes of what the EBU was. I am a big critic of a lot of the decisions that the EBU has made around politics. This is the first one that actually makes any sense to me. The way that I would put it is, you can bring a Palestinian flag into the arena. But like you said, there's a universal rule now that is like the only flags that we have on stage are
because it's also so easy
flags.
that it gets out of control, because you have a flag parade that is about introducing the countries that are competing, right?
Right.
And the moment, you know, what we've seen a lot is like a queer artist bringing out a rainbow flag or a trans flag and all that. And I think that's amazing, but it does also dilute like the idea of like, we are introducing who is competing right now.
Yeah, okay, so this is, God, I was so positive about the EBU for like 2 seconds. I do want to push back against this.
This was my word.
Yes.
This is my argument.
But this is also their argument. Similar to how I feel about the politics rule, is like, I actually think the EBU could do well to be a little more hands-off in reality about what flags you can reveal during an act, what you can do on stage, what the messages of your songs can be. You have to be comfortable being like, we take our values actually seriously. So here are the values.
Right.
And if these flags violate these values, then we're going to say no. The reason they don't want to do that is because they don't want to expose themselves. They want to just keep their hands clean.
Absolutely. And
which I understand as an organization, and therefore in the world that like Eurovision really doesn't want to mix it up with politics, this is the best they could do.
I agree with that. And I think that the only thing I'd add there is when it comes to what's contained within a song and all that stuff, I do think that gets more complicated. But I think when we're specifically talking about the flag parade, it was designed to introduce the countries competing. I do think that simplifying, or if we're specifically talking about the flag parade, I think it
But this is not a rule that only applies to the flag parade, right? I'm more talking about on stage, like Hattori in the green room.
Right.
Or Nemo with the trans flag in the green room, or Madonna with the Palestinian flag during the interval act. I totally am on board for the idea in any world of this that the flag parade has a particular purpose, which is just like, okay, this person, this country, this person, this country. Where we could push the EBU still to do better is that, like, I think thinking about it as flags is probably too narrow for when we're talking about the green room and acts. It's like forms of protest, forms of showing your values. I mean, you think about Eric Saade and the Kafia. Those forms of protest, I think the EBU should find a way to be more chill about.
I have to give a big shout out to the city of Basel because I will say the turquoise carpet was absolutely stunning. The city is beautiful. I mean, truly, we're talking about a city that is like transformed into Eurovision through and through.
And they're offering the media a lot of free stuff, so we did have to say that. But,
but then moving to our interviews on this episode.
Yes, we have 3 interviews with current Eurovision 2025 competitors on this very episode.
I just spoke about beautiful Basel. Speaking about the host country, Switzerland, our very first interview is with the Swiss entry of this year, Zoë Më, who's representing Switzerland with Voyage. And then we move to the center of Europe, to Australia.
Yes.
Where we have Gojo, who our Eurovision 69 episode really highlighted Milkshake Man.
Yes.
And he is the Milkshake Man himself.
And then we have Ziferblat, who is representing Ukraine. They are a phenomenal prog rock act. I think you'll see from the interview, very deep thinkers when it comes to their music, to their sound.
I love how deep and serious we got at times with this interview while they were sharing one phone outside of McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, that's a true artist right there. And then finally, we have a game that deals with some of the other Eurovision 2025 contestants because we want to make sure
you're really prepared.
Yes, we have Aurin Squire, who has written for shows from The Good Fight to Brain Dead. He is the book writer of a Broadway musical, and we go through several of the Eurovision 2025 songs from the perspective of songwriting, sort of figuring out how process and end result affect each other when it comes to this class.
But before we get to that, let's take us on a journey through these Eurovision interviews.
Yes.
Starting with listening to Voyage. See what I did there?
A Voyage.
You got it. We are here with Zoë Më, who will be representing Switzerland at this year's Eurovision with Voyage. Zoe, welcome.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here. I was like too stunned to speak. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, Magnus is very good at the intros. That's why.
Yeah, I was just listening to the intro.
What was your relationship with Eurovision like growing up?
I started writing songs when I was 10, and that was also when I heard about Eurovision for the first time. I heard Satellite from Lena. And then after that, each year I listened to all the winning songs, but really like discovering the whole universe. I did that when John Steers represented Switzerland in 2020-21 because he's a good friend of mine. And
amazing.
That's when I kind of was like, what? A friend of mine is going to Eurovision? Like, I have to know everything. And I took piano lessons when I was, 7 years old, just because I thought it was such an amazing instrument. But then I went to see my first concert ever when I was 10 with my family because I was a huge fan of The Script. And I saw this huge crowd sing their songs. And I was like, oh my God, like it's not just me who likes their music. That's crazy. And I thought it must be so cool for the band to see that so many people sing their songs. And that's the moment I decided I wanted to do that as well. So I went home the same night and wrote my first song on the piano. And I just never stopped ever since.
You've described your music as poetry pop.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand on that term and talk about what it means to you?
I call my music poetry pop because for me, lyrics are very important. Usually it's the music that kind of gives me the feels, but the lyrics say something deep. That's when a song can become like one of my favorite songs. I write in German and French. So I love to write in both languages because for me, both languages are poetic in their own way. I love to create worlds that people can escape into. But I also like to write lyrics that are really like true to what's happening in the real world, because there is beauty also in like just everyday life.
You mentioned being a bilingual songwriter. Are there differences in the sound and emotional effect of each language for you?
So yeah, it's funny. Usually people think that German is like an ugly language and French is the beautiful language, which I don't agree with. I usually try to be very spontaneous. And if it's supposed to be soft, I'm more easily going to choose like maybe French. And if I want a real feeling of like, I really talk about real stuff, then I'm more easily drawn to German. But sometimes I just decide to take both languages and like write bilingual songs. Using
both languages within one song is really cool, particularly in Le Loup, where you...
Je ne suis pas le loup. Je ne suis pas le loup.
where you switch for the chorus. Can you talk about that switch? I thought it was so interesting.
Thank you. Well, sometimes there are songs like Le Loup where I just have a sentence in my head. Basically, for this song, I had Je ne suis pas le loup, je n'ai pas mangé ta grand-mère. So I am not the wolf, I have not eaten your grandmother. And then I knew that's gonna be the hook. But I wanted to tell the story in German because it was more like of a real feeling story again. So it's about a woman who wants to be with a guy, but the guy decides to be with another woman and she's like jealous. So it's like a real story. And then the fun part is in French. But then there are other songs that are bilingual where, for example, I start writing in German because it's my point of view and my first language is German. But then there comes like a second person in the song and this person is French speaking. And when I talk to this person, I switch and sing in French.
In Le Loup is the idea when the final chorus is in German, is it like bringing the sort of like storybook metaphor down to the reality of the situation?
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh my God, I love it. Are you a songwriter? Like, you get it. I mean, if you listen to Le Loup, for example, it's a song that's up-tempo.
Yeah.
And people, when I play festival shows, they dance to that song.
Yeah.
And then you have Voyage as like a chanson and really like emotional. And that's also something I always said I'm a singer, but deep down I'm a songwriter. And I think there are so many different ways of making other people feel emotions. I have this duality of the languages, French and German, but I also have chanson and then like pop.
On Momoko, the first track on it is like a rock song.
Young boys, wollt sehen, wie du alt wirst, wie du alt wirst.
But that's interesting because Momoko was my first album that I released because I had so many songs and nobody knew me in Switzerland. So I did all that album like by myself. I just asked some friends if they wanted to come to the studio. And so the boys I played with back then, they loved rock music.
Okay.
And I was like, feel free to do whatever you want to do. We come together and we make music. So my songs that I wrote on the piano that sounded like Voyage, became all of the sudden like rock songs. The songs on Momoko is not the sound that represents me the best, but I still want to keep the songs online because it's such an important part of how I became the artist that I am today. And I think you should be proud as a young artist that there are many steps. It's not an overnight success kind of thing. I hope that this album can inspire other young people who try to do music to just see Zoe didn't start with Voyage. She had to find herself as well.
Der Schwarze Bass.
Yeah.
That
You come up with all my discography.
Nach Feuerland. Wir wollten Helden werden.
I have some people that come to all my concerts, and that is the favorite song of one of these people. And sometimes I didn't play it at my shows, and she was getting so upset. She was like, "That's my favorite song. You have to play it." On TV, there was a group of, 7 boys who went on a travel. And I saw the documentary of their whole journey, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. They just left everything, bought a bus. And I wrote this song inspired by their story. And then I texted them on Instagram saying, hey guys, that is super random, but I wrote a song about you. And they were like, oh my God, what? So it's actually a real story. It's like really
That's so funny because I was sitting there and I was like, okay, it's a black bus. What does the black bus mean? And blah blah blah. It's actually a bus.
But it was actually a black bus.
How do you think you've developed as an artist since that first album? And how has the process of creating and releasing music changed for you?
All my songs, doesn't matter if it's like one of Momoko or even one of my songs before that or Voyage or the songs from my EP like Le Loup, all these songs work on the piano. Like with the different years after Momoko, I was hit up by different producers who said, well, we love your music, but we feel like you haven't gotten to show your music in the way you want it to be. And I was like, yeah, exactly. I want to work with orchestra. I want to have more also electronic sounds come in. So I don't know, meeting these people has just allowed me to record the music in a sound world that I want to put it in. But songwriting wise, it has always stayed the same.
I wanted to ask about Liste Interdit.
Yeah, Liste Interdit, yeah.
Yes, there we go. Great. Much better.
I love this interview. This is like my dream interview.
Ma Belle, hätte ich gewusst, warum du schweigst, wenn ich sage, ich glaube, ich hab mich verliebt.
hätte ich gewusst.
My friend and I, we fell in love with the same guy. And like that's not an ideal situation.
Fair.
So we took a piece of paper and we wrote a list where she and I put names of guys that could potentially be interesting for us in the future. Like people that were like, oh, who could be our crush? And like just write down names. So that was our little list of forbidden names. And the song is called List of Forbidden Names, so Liste des Interdits. And yeah, it's a song for friendship and about saying how sometimes no mister is more important than your sister.
Dorian Gray is such an interesting song. Can you talk about how the idea came about to apply Dorian Gray to a girl in a much more modern context?
Dorian, wer hat gesagt, du bist nicht schön, Dorian?
Yeah, so I was inspired for this song by The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and I took Dorian Gray, who's a male character, and I transformed it into a girl because sometimes I feel like Dorian Gray. He wants to be beautiful and stay young forever. And for me, that's something that we see also nowadays with social media. So many people just kind of get lost in the fact that they want to have the perfect image and they lose a bit of like the inner worth. And as an artist, it's super hard as well because like people look at our profiles and want to see like how does the artist represent themselves. So that's why I sometimes also feel like Dorian Gray, where in my past I was like, oh, I have to look a certain way, and now I just realized that where does it stop? How far do you want to go? Like where will it ever be like enough? When we talk about my different songs, as you can see, it's always like I'm very much about storytelling, and that's why I love this interview, because all of my songs I have like a message behind it. My artist name is Zoë Më. Zoë in Greek means life, and Më in Japanese means I. And I've always said I like observe life, listen to life, and write stories about life. I'm an artist with like message songs, and sometimes it's like hidden as like non-message songs.
The storytelling aspect of your songwriting is a perfect setup to talk about Voyage.
So I was asked if I wanted to write a song for Eurovision. And I said, yes, of course, because as I said before, I fell in love with like Eurovision. I was really thinking like, if I have 3 minutes on that stage, what could I do? How could I help? And I was thinking that there's a lot of negativity in the world right now. And that I feel like we have to come together as people and be more kind again and like respectful and supportive to fight this negativity with positivity and love. And I was thinking, how can I put that in an image? So in the pre-chorus, I sing that flowers are more beautiful if we water them. And like, you've cut me so many times. That's what I sing. And the song is called Voyage, which means journey. And in the chorus, I sing, if you want, I'll take you on a journey with me. The journey really is like an invitation, some sort of like, I show you how I see the world. I want to be kind to others. And if you want to do that as well, then you're more than welcome to join me on that.
Can you discuss the music video? What is it in the song that you wanted to bring out? And what relationship does the imagery in and tone of the video have to the staging you're planning?
For me, like the video, I wanted to have 3 aspects. The first thing was the crosswalk. Having a crosswalk would kind of symbolize the crosswalk of life, where every day so many people like meet each other and you never know one's personal story. And then all of these people on the crosswalk, they wear a flower just to symbolize what I said before, that the pre-chorus is about flowers being more beautiful if we water them. The third element that I wanted to show is with the little girl. I sing to her in the video. For me, what I like to see in it is that the little girl could be me, like a younger version of myself. The younger Zoe had to understand, like, maybe you want to be kind. And so it's also an invitation to myself, kind of. We filmed on film, like it was in an analog way, because I think that's so cool. With Voyage especially, I want to kind of slow down everything and get out of like the real world and create a parallel universe. And I think there will definitely be elements in my staging in relation to that music video, but not in an obvious way. This thing of like creating a parallel universe, I think that's something that you'll see. I was told that we're doing something that hasn't been done before. So I don't know. Maybe it's not true, but that's what that's what I was told.
It's interesting how you talk about the song because it's both a very inspirational song and also like the tone of the lyric has a lot of darkness in it. Like you brought up the "You Cut Me," but there is something interesting in that pre-chorus, right, where you say, one day you'll realize. So there is this sort of confidence that things will get better. It's, I think, similar to, in a way, when you were talking about Lulu and how the sort of dance tone of the music is an interplay against the sort of darkness in the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess generally, can you talk about how you set those tensions up?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think sometimes for me, as I said before, I have these kind of two sides always, French, German, pop, chanson, but I also have like light and darkness. I think that's a big thing in my work. With Voyage, this one day you'll understand. I am really confident that people will understand eventually that they have to like be kind and support each other, because there will come the point where you cannot like just ignore that other people are maybe not feeling that well. Also, the song in the first 2 minutes is like really this kind of invitation. It's really soft and you don't maybe think that the song is a bit dark, but then there's this dramatic bridge where all of a sudden you realize that, there were like more, I don't know, darker lyrics. And then we wrote this key change. This key change for me is this hopeful moment where after the storm, after this intense part of please come on this journey with me, please understand it. I'm like, no, but I don't even have to force it. It's got to be fine.
Can you give us a window into what it's been like preparing for the performances in Basel?
It was really the best experience. I have felt so supported by my team. I'm working with Theo Adams for the staging. He's done Ollie last year with UK. And when we released this information, people were like, "Oh my God, Voyage is gonna be sexy. Please don't do that."
Is Voyage in a bathroom?
It's not in a bathroom. It's so funny because Theo is just the sweetest soul ever. And when we met, we instantly like had the same ideas, and I even learned more about myself than what I already thought that I knew. So it's been really like an amazing experience. And now I'm just super proud that you get to see that on stage.
Zoe, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been really wonderful.
Thank you so much. I love that.
Euroverse.
You can call me the Milkshake Man. I wanna shake and make the whole world dance. They drink my milk all across the land. I can tell you want a taste of the Milkshake Man. I can tell you want a taste of the Milkshake Man.
We are here with Gojo, who will be representing Australia at this year's Eurovision with the song Milkshake Man. Gojo, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
No, thank you so much for joining us. Can you talk about your journey musically and lyrically as an artist?
Yeah, of course. I've always been someone who's very passionate in innovation and just trying new things. And I know my voice is always, at the front of the song, even though earlier on I did start by just producing and then I would get other writers to come in and we'd write the song together, but they have top line on it because I wasn't as confident as a singer back then. The funny thing with lyrics is when I listen to records like on Spotify or anything like that, I never listen to lyrics, but I treat them so importantly in a record of my own.
Yeah. It's hard to miss the lyrics of Milkshake Man. So I think even you listening to your own song would probably, it would hit home.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Milkshake Man is one of 3 Eurovision songs this year about self-empowerment that communicates via double entendre. The others being Serving and Ich komme. How do you see the themes of sexual liberation and self-empowerment operating in your song?
Well, it's what I love about songwriting is you can listen to a song and you can have your own meaning of it. It's like I listen to a lot of songs and I'm like, whoa, I had no idea that was about, like a red car cruising through Paris. But then I go into what the artist actually wrote it about. And it's like, whoa, it has this whole different, deeper meaning that this artist is like using through a metaphor. And it's like, whoa, as musicians, if we're talking about love or a breakup, we don't want to talk about it directly. We want to talk about it through a lens that someone else hasn't looked through before.
Talking about Milkshake Man, can you talk about the process of writing that with Shepard?
After I was told that I was representing Australia, I went on a 2-day writing camp with Shepard and we ended up writing about 10 songs in the 2 days. I have been writing songs for like 11 years now. And it was seriously like the funnest session I've ever had. I'd stay for dinner afterwards, and you can get a lot of lazy writers, a lot of lazy producers. But these guys, it's obvious throughout their catalog as well, like why they are who they are. They're such perfectionists and they're so talented at it.
Can you talk a little bit, like out of those 10 songs, like why Milkshake Man was the one that you selected to submit? Secondarily, do you have any hints about some of those other songs?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So the reason that was selected, to us, like it has so much depth. The song sits on 2 keys. So it's in B flat major, but it's also in C major. So it has this complexity to it. And it also has a lot of hooks in it that we were really liking, you know, the play on words. And all the other songs are like, we're definitely going to be releasing some of those as well because they're really great. And it was even when we had Milkshake Man, we had submitted Milkshake Man and another song as well. It all started when I was on tour in Germany. I was doing like a big festival run off the back end of the success of Mrs. Hollywood. I remember my guitarist said to me out of nowhere, he was just like, "Oh, Gojo, you should do Eurovision." He was half asleep apparently as well. He doesn't remember it, which is hilarious. And I didn't respond either. I just listened, and because I was in the back seat, he was in the front seat of our van, our tour van. Because I've always loved Eurovision, I've always loved being a spectator, but I never thought about being an actual contestant, like a participant. And then I thought about it more and more, and I was like, this is such an incredible idea. And that was when I reached out to my publicist to put some feelers out. And then I ended up having a few interviews with SBS. And then it was after the 4th one when they sat me down and they were like, how does it feel to be representing Australia in Eurovision this year? And I was just like, what the heck?
You grew up off the grid. In what ways do you think that advantaged you as an artist?
Yeah, that's such a great question as well. The way that my mother and father raised us kids was, it was full of freedom because we were so isolated from society, but it was also full of hard work because we weren't the most financially stable, which meant, you know, growing our own vegetables, learning how to harvest the rain from the sky. And we had like fresh drinking water like that. And we didn't have power from the towns. Like we had to get the power from the sun through solar panels that my dad had like invented. And it was just very creative and very free. And my views weren't diluted by the TVs or the radios or anything like that.
Your mom was a rock musician, right?
Yeah.
What did you learn from her?
She's always been and my dad as well. They're both very passionate with music and they love music. And it's funny because my mum's more of a rock and roll girl, but then my dad loves pop music, but he also loves world music. That was kind of our form of entertainment as well, because, you know, we weren't sitting around a TV and we'd have like fires outside and we'd have music. And mum is one of the most beautiful singers I've ever heard. I think growing up, it was never pushed on me to be like, you should be a musician, you should learn to play guitar. Mum just put things in front of us. And then, you know, if we wanted to, we'd just pick it up.
I love that. I'm just going to leave this instrument here. Do what you will.
You can play it if you want. Potentially be a Eurovision artist in
exactly.
22 years.
The seed was planted there. And Australia wasn't even in Eurovision at that time.
But I'm also a French citizen as well. So
maybe next year, yeah.
That would be cool as well. I love France.
Mrs. Hollywood obviously went viral.
She's always MIA way out in California. What can I say? She's got a talent for it.
And Milkshake Man sort of had a similarly like kind of large impact on the Eurovision community when it was announced. So I guess like what have you learned from those 2 songs about what grabs people or impacts them the most when they listen to new music?
It's kind of like finding the secret antidote to like, you know, cure chickenpox. It's pretty impossible. And, you know, I think these things just happen on chance sometimes. But I also don't believe in luck. And I think it's like the more times you give yourself an opportunity to be successful, to win, the more times you are going to do it. Mrs. Hollywood, I mean, that song in particular, I probably took me over 1,000 songs to get that one. And then it's like every time you make one after that, you get better and better and better. And you start understanding things a bit more. And I think your brain starts leaning into the territory of like the catchy melodies, to the importance of like a chord underneath a melody and having each moment in a chorus and having those little ear candy things that people remember forever.
These other 2 songs I mentioned earlier, have also been brought up a lot with the fact that this is the 69th Eurovision. So are we going to see some sort of super collab between the three of you?
Well, me and Erica have been talking about doing a song. I haven't spoken to Mariana about it yet, but definitely would love to do that after the competition, literally the biggest competition in the world. Like, you know, it would be such an incredible thing for the fans. Like I know they would love it. And it's a great opportunity for us as well. I'm all for it and definitely will be reaching out and trying as hard as we can to make that happen.
That is a perfect place to wrap up. Gojo, thank you so much for joining us.
When I say sweet, sweet, you say?
Yum, yum.
Nice. Just had to make sure.
I watched the video of the Australian Prime Minister
incredible.
Doing that part.
Albo, when I say sweet, sweet, you say?
Yum, yum.
Yeah!
Oh, no, it's so funny. Oh, that was so epic when I saw that.
That's wild.
You guys should come over anytime. That would be lovely.
Well, I hope rehearsals go amazingly, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for giving us the time. We really appreciate it as well.
Euroverse. And I called you fly, but I'm begging you, please just leave. Share.
We are here with Ziferblat, who will be representing Ukraine with the song Birds of Prey this year at Eurovision. Guys, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Daniel, you have a classical background, right? How did you then find your way to more contemporary music?
When I went to the musical school, I learned so much about classical music. But when I started to follow the Eurovision Song Contest, I started to think that pop music is not that easy. Pop music more complicated than I saw. And right now, I'm just trying to understand the system of the pop music. It's an interesting thing.
Can you talk about your songwriting process?
Usually, like me and my brother, we're writing the song for a band. And we're starting with the musical parts, with the instrumental parts, and then lyrics. When I'm writing the song, like I'm using only my acoustic guitar because I can play just like 2 or 3 instruments. It's mandolin, acoustic guitar, and a little bit of cello because I finished my musical school as a cellist. And then we go to the studio and work with our drummer. We're doing arrangement and like this.
Currently, the band is the three of you, but there have been different numbers of members over the years.
We created our first band when we were just like 15 or 16, something like that, when we were in school. Our first band included like 4 or 5 members. But after the revolution in Ukraine, I mean the first revolution in 2014, we decided to change something because we were like an English language band. We were like just casual Western band, but we decided to move to Ukrainian language after the revolution. And there was another drummer in this time and another bassist player. Now we don't have a bassist player. Life was so unpredictable, and some of the guys, they were tired about making music. And finally, in 2019, Fedya joined us because we were searching for a better drummer because we were participating in the show called X Factor.
Speaking of X Factor, you were mentored as contestants on the X Factor by Andrei Danilko, who Eurovision fans will know as Verka Serduchka. Can you tell us what that experience was like?
X Factor, it's not about lessons or trying to be helpful by jury. It's like a picture. Right. Yeah, you see a picture. It's just surreal. It's not true. We just met each other 2 times in my life and nothing else. But he's a very talented artist, and in Ukraine, it's a huge artist who inspired a lot of musicians. Maybe not me or my brother, but I think he's the first travesty diva in the Eurovision, and the first girl pop artist. For sure. I'm not a huge fan of Danilka, but I appreciate.
Moving to your album Metamorphosis.
It's just about us. It's just about our growing as musicians, because we were like a weak band. I mean, our first EP was not too good. In 2017, we released Kineseance. It's translated like cinema show. People were saying that it was not that bad, but we weren't happy with this one. So we decided to change the musical style. So we decided to call it Metamorphosis because of these changes. And I can see that the first 4 songs of the album and the last 6 or 7 songs, they are like different because we are starting with the first song, Disco Funk Therapy, is just a dancing track, and then we are moving to something more complicated.
We were going to ask about that. Yes, it starts with Disco Funk Therapy, but at the end, can you talk a little bit about Zemlya? Both the inspiration for the song and the process of making it?
Yep, of course. Thank you for your questions, because every time we're making an interview, they're asking us about, like, how did you get your name of the band or something like this? And I like these questions about songs, Yep, thank you so much. And, Zemlya was written, earlier than other songs, because we released it as the single at the very beginning of 2022. For me, it's one of my favorite works, our works, and it's based on the Ukrainian book called The Earth, and it's about the ground, it's about the earth, it's about motherland, it's about losing your ground. But what is most interesting thing is that it was written in 2018 or 2019, before the full-scale invasion started.
Our song,
yeah, our song, Zemlya was written before, and we predicted some actions.
Can you then talk about the role that producer Serhiy Lyubinsky played in shaping the album's sound?
Wow, you're surprising me, guys.
Whoa.
You're so deep into our music. Okay, when we were 20 or 21, we decided to find someone who will improve our music in the studio version. And then I found Serhiy. He has a studio in Kyiv. It's called Rivet Sound. And he was working with a lot of artists. For example, a big artist, Ukrainian artist. The band is called Vivian Mort, and it's one of my favorites Ukrainian bands. So we started to work, I think, in 2018 with our first song after Kinesense album was released. It was called Vnochi. We participated with this song in X Factor. We had demos of Metamorphosis of this album, and we needed to make quality.
Guys, I'm here. Your questions even more complicated or beautiful, than Ukrainian journalist questions. That's true. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's incredible. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Your music is great. We really love it. So. But you mentioned this before. Metamorphosis took years to develop, and when you started, it was before Putin's latest war in Ukraine. So the situation has changed drastically between when you started the album and when you released it. Can you talk about what that was like?
Because the album was already done by this time. It was already done, in 2021, something like this, and we weren't ready to release this. We didn't know when to release it. We were waiting for a good time, and then full-scale invasion started, and we immediately we thought oh, it's the right time, because feelings that album is making for us, I can say this about the war, but it's about losing something. It's about change. It's about stuff that won't never happen to you again. So, after releasing 3 singles, we finally found the label to release the album. And in April of 2023, finally we released the album. That's 3. We released it in the 7th of April, 2023. 2022. Released the album. Yeah, sorry for that, guys. Yeah,
they kind of set up your next question, Charlie.
They really, yeah. So you two are obviously brothers. What's it like being in a band together? What are the positives and negatives?
We're twins. And the band, it's what keeps us together. There are a lot of difference between us. We're different guys with different lives, with different point of view on a lot of things. So, it's hard, but we have Fedya, our drummer, and he's always the arbiter. He's always a judgment for us. Yeah, he's always in the middle.
The first time you guys entered Vidbeer was with Place I Call Home. Can you talk about the decision to write that song in English?
Because it was our first attempt and we didn't know what to do exactly. I was a big Eurovision fan from the childhood, and my experience was saying me that you need to do something in English because it's for the European audience, and they won't understand the Ukrainian one. And I thought that will help us, but I didn't think about our Ukrainian audience because they weren't that happy as we were. Because they understood the message, but they were writing stuffs like, guys, it's cool that you have an English language song, but what about Ukrainian? We need to show our culture. And to be honest, maybe in some ways they were right. So after we took the second place, I decided to add the Ukrainian lyrics, of course, and Ukrainian choir, because I wanted to show our roots, our Ukrainian roots.
What would you say you learned about yourselves as a band from that first Vidbir experience?
Indie bands, they are not ready for the contests like this because they're just like chilling and want to stay alone without talking to another participants because they don't like them. And that's how we were working at our first participation. We didn't communicate with the other artists and we didn't make a lot of TikToks. You need to do a lot of things that you don't like, but it's necessary to do them.
The voting app obviously went down that year at Vidbir.
It's happened again. This year, when the televote started, it broke down again for like 10 minutes or something. And we were like, oh, again. Yep. But then they repaired it. One guy from an organization that is organizing the national selection, he came and said, like, if the app won't be repaired, then we need to go just with the jury votes, And as you know, we won by the jury votes. So if they made such a decision, we could be a winner like the last year. To be honest, it is good like that they decided to go with both votes because Alona and Jerry Hale, they deserved their winning because the song was famous. It was popular even before they won. Of course, I was sad that we didn't make it to the final, but Alona and Jerry Hale deserved it more.
Can you talk about the meaning behind Birds of Prey and how the musical choices, like the use of the bandura, support the song's message?
I wrote the song just using my acoustic guitar sitting at home. I mean, you just said bandura's part. I was playing it in my acoustic guitar. There's a band called Secret Garden, and they have an instrumental song. It's called Ilan. And the intro is, it's not the same, but it is a close one. And then I whoa, it will sound better with the bandura, with Ukrainian national instruments. I wanted to make something that will show our roots, Ukrainian roots. So bandura, national choir, everybody, when they hear our song, they can understand, whoa, this one is from Ukraine.
You've mentioned Pink Floyd's Sheep as one of the inspirations. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Because it has not similar but close to rhythm section. It was tun dun tun dun tun dun. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pink Floyd. I was not trying to make something similar with the Sheep, but Animals, it's a great album, and Sheep, this instrumental part in verses, I really like it.
With the revamp of the song, you brought on Anton Chilibi, and part of the conversation was about bringing in elements that might resonate with the Eurovision audience. How do you balance staying true to the original inspiration of the song while also developing it so it works in the very particular context of Eurovision?
The main goal to do a revamp was just to make something that Eurofans will like, because I was reading the comments and I saw that the song is too much complex to understand from the first listening. So yeah, we decided to make a revamp, and we asked Anton Chilibi, who made a Jail Hail song, Teresa Maria, and he made the winning song, Kalush song. Yeah, he done a great job, and we wanted to add the orchestra, and he did it, and he did some unpredictable pauses. He made the outro more epic. So yeah, I'm very happy with, and he didn't change the song a lot. So that was the main goal, to add some like interesting parts, some hooks, but not to make it worse, So yeah, I'm so happy with it. Yeah.
Finally, Putin's invasion is still in full force right now. So what message do you hope to deliver to the world or to Europe as Ukrainians at Eurovision?
We're very thankful for the support that every nation is doing for us, because we won't stay that long without this support, because the situation is getting harder and harder every day. We're staying abroad right now, and we will return in 5 or 4 days in Ukraine. And I'm sure that when I will return the first night, I will have like an Air Force alarm, of course. It's just the same. It's like a routine every day. So we're asking for support. We know that it's hard. That a lot of people are tired from us, but we are part of Europe, and we want to be a part of Europe, and we are protecting like the rest of the world from this disease, called Russian Federation. So please continue to support us, and that's the main thing that's much more important than just like Eurovision or something like that. And thank you guys.
Thank you guys. This has been really, really lovely. And we cannot wait to see you in Basel.
Yes, thank you so much.
Euroverse.
So this year on the podcast, we've talked a fair amount about songwriting and the diversity of approaches that Eurovision artists and writers have taken to create the bops we all love. Now we're bringing that lens to Eurovision 2025.
To help us with this, we are joined by someone who knows a thing or two about the writing process. Aurin Squire. Aurin has written for Braindead, Evil, The Good Fight, and This Is Us, and is the book writer of the Broadway musical A Wonderful World. Aurin, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to play you a song from this year's Eurovision, and you're going to guess how the song was written. Was it written by the artists themselves, or was most of the main songwriting completed without the participation of the artist? Then maybe we can talk a little bit about whether different songwriting processes lead to different outcomes, or whether there are just multiple paths to get the same song. This game about the many different collaborators it takes to make a Eurovision song is one we're calling It Takes Two to Tango, but many more to EuroDance.
Yes.
Like a Beyonce album where they have like 6 songwriters.
Well, that's your favorite thing is
the
Who Run
example
the World.
I always use
Girls,
because people, the amount of times on Facebook I've seen the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody, and there will be like one writer, and then they'll always show Who Run the World Girls, and it lists 10 writers or something like that. We count songwriters in a different way than we used to. Is it the words and the melody that made this iconic, or is it the like EDM beat drop? And how is that not a songwriter?
Who Run the World? Producers. Do you like that?
Remembering Earth, Wind, and Fire when they had their September song, in that whole section, the songwriter begged them. That was just a filler. Please do not use that. And Earth, Wind, and Fire was like, girl, shut up. This is going to work. And that's the part people remember. It's just like, oh, yeah, sometimes words aren't important.
Okay, so we are going to start with our first song. This is this year's song from Croatia. It's Marko Bošnjak, and the song is called Poison Cake.
I already love it already. I haven't even clicked on the video.
Yeah.
Take a bite of my poison cake. Been cooking in my cauldron late. You never ever gonna stay awake. You're going down, down, down.
Very vampire-esque. Shoulder pads. I think they're about to elect a pope. This is very like the dark side. Okay, we're going Japanese manga, anime. Poison cake. That's funny. I feel alive now. I feel like I'm ready to bake a poison cake. But no, it was. You don't really hear lyrics like that in America on the radio. It's like, this is what we could be. I don't know if we should. I think we should.
I was shocked to find out that he came out last year.
That's brave.
Yeah. Also, like the trajectory of coming out to Poison Cake in front of millions of people in a year. I feel very conflicted about the term poison cake. The drag queen Katya talks about going down on a straight man.
Oh, that's funny.
And she goes, and there was a smell. Something was wrong.
Ron Halsey is quite a celebrity in Serbia and Croatia because he sings Serbian and Croatian music, and a black person singing that sort of sticks out.
When did he come out as black?
Well, some people would say, I love you, Ron, that he's still working through that. But I believe that people can be black and weird. So he said Now, Croatia has a problem with gays. Just the second our Uber pulls up, I turn my head and I see two teenage girls kissing in a vestibule of a building across the street. It almost seemed to be a sign from some sort of gay Mother Teresa, some gay. It was weird. He's like,
well, it's good to know that Tattoo's still doing well, you know?
Well,
he probably wrote that then if he's coming out.
This was a song that someone, not him, wrote.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because it like
Which
you pointed,
means it could be a hate crime.
But it's also the absolute insanity of it. I don't know. If I'm a songwriter and I'm just like writing a song for somebody else to sing, there's a way in which like I'd be a little bit more conservative about like, oh, I'm writing a pop song that like a lot of different people could theoretically sing. The writers are named Emma Gale, Ben Pine, and
they're
Bas
from
Vissink.
Croatia?
No, so Gale is UK based. Pine is Ireland. And then they went with this, he's a Netherlands based producer. But then Marco later worked on the song with a Croatian producer.
So he was a part of the writing process.
But it was basically a full song at the point he joined.
Yes, and that's kind of the reason that this is on here too. It's because this stuff is like often more complicated than the binary.
I grew up in a generation where there was supposed to be a narrative coherence to what you were writing, whether it was a song or writing a play. And now this generation, a lot of people poo-poo it like they're stupid or they're dumb. The actual structure of art in the judgment system has changed, where art is more about vibes, a meme you can create off of that, a spectacle.
Yeah.
And then if you can glue enough of those together, you have something that's great.
100%.
Even if, like this song, he has a section where it's like, do. It's memeable, different sections you can glue together with an overall theme of Poison Cake. You do something with the shoulder pads. Evil Joan Collins. You mix it all together and you have something that is a spectacle that's giving vibes. It's giving all this flavor.
Growing up in the, same era that you did, I do think in terms of like one gesture. Like is kind of like the goal in a way. And now it's like, what is the juiciest 20 seconds you can come up with? And how can you put that next to the next juiciest 20 seconds and the next? And
the thing that we've gained that was a big thing before was this idea that you could have objectively bad music taste. But I think now it's kind of like, if people like it.
Disco is heavily influenced by Black culture and Black influence. So in some intentional or an unintentional way, a lot of critics were saying, the influence of Black music in this is bad music.
Yeah.
Just like hip hop, early hip hop, this is bad music. And it's like, well, you're kind of saying Black is bad.
This is exactly what we talk about, particularly like the 90s music criticism about Eurovision. It's all like a highbrow gloss on these are a bunch of faggots. This, camp fest with all these like femme, whatever. The subtext is so much clearer than I think it was at the moment.
The music that stimulates the mind and music that stimulates the feet or stimulates the hips and other things that are part of the mind, but in
stimulates
a different way.
The cake.
Stimulates the poison cake. I mean, Louis Armstrong, when he first played in London, I think they called jazz music degenerate music fit for Jews and Blacks.
I have to say that I've never heard a better advertisement for music.
I know. When I heard that, I was like, well, sign me up. Fast forward 20, 30 years later, Louis Armstrong comes back now that he's been crowned as an artist by white people. They come back and they listen like this to a song that's meant to move you and dance. And they listen like, very interesting.
Yeah.
The chords.
They had to wait till a white person got a PhD in Louis Armstrong.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
then someone can be like, ooh. So now we're going to move to Azerbaijan. This is Mama Gama's Run With You.
Giving Michael Jackson.
It definitely has.
Like futuristic thriller. Oh, I like the add of the traditional Azerbaijani instruments.
Yeah.
I love those combos. I was in the Serbian and Croatian airport, and this airport worker was really excited to talk to me because I guess he's like a Black person. And he was telling me that he just took a class with Dr. Dre online about rap. And did
this happen to you a lot?
I mean, a little bit in Europe. I'm like, okay, this is happening. He asked me for any advice as far as what he should do in his rap career. And I said, well, if you could just take any traditional instruments or indigenous instruments from your culture and infuse that into hip hop, that's the most hip hop or trip hop thing you could do.
Which is very Eurovision.
Well, but this is something that I think one of the reasons why a lot of people outside of the sort of Eurovision world find Eurovision very strange is that you'll see a lot of like instruments you're not familiar with. And to what you were saying earlier, there is that element of when someone sees something they've never seen before, they go, this is weird or bad or something.
It is interesting because there is this element of like bringing that into a modern pop context, kind of like you were talking about. There's something cool about looking at the artists who sort of operate in the middle space, like not pure folk, not pure global Swedish pop, I guess.
Did that guy write it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to keep saying yes until I get
Yes,
it right.
you are 100% right. Yeah.
Thank you.
I kind of chose this song because I was like, it's such a broad electro pop song in a way. Nothing about it screams personal. And it's a very, very muscular pop song in a certain way. But this is created by a band, Mama Gama, and literally there is no one else listed as a songwriter. Only one member of the band is listed as the lyricist. So I think we have a little bit of an insight into their process.
Yeah.
So moving to Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah, lovely,
they're doing
lovely
great right
Georgia. Yeah, things are great over there.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Russia's trying to take it over, right?
So this is Miriam Shengelia. And the song, ironically, is called Freedom.
I saw an indie movie in Georgia about their indigenous dance, but I wonder if that's going to be in this music video.
Freedom is a mountain spring for share people. Let it be here and there, everywhere.
Nope, none of that. Okay.
I was waiting for
In
it.
the first moment, I was like, okay. It's like Celine Dion, Skyfall theme song, the James Bond movie.
Totally.
Rockets coming down behind her.
Which actually, that wasn't planned.
Yeah. That was just the background. That day.
Definitely something you play after you've broken up with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Freedom.
Yeah.
But kind of, is it?
Yeah.
But is it? That is the question.
It's a breakup song for an ex who keeps you in the basement.
Yes. Yeah.
With the door locked.
I like this. Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool song,
it's
right?
very, secretly militaristic.
Yeah, it's got a vibe. It definitely has a
like
vibe.
an Evita, I will dominate you.
Yeah.
But don't worry, it'll be freedom.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, you're getting a lot from this song.
Just that short clip had so much going on in it.
Yeah.
With the orchestra, good use of classical instruments and violins, with this big billowy gown that she's wearing.
Like,
that's diva. Yeah, Celine Dion, Titanic mixed with, maybe we might march on a state capitol.
Exactly.
We might march like defecating in Nancy Pelosi's desk drawer. And I bet Trump would book them and she would come.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got the Kennedy Center now. So
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, just send the money through his crypto.
Kennedy Center honors
Miriam.
It's all legit. Just pay the president through his crypto.
Maybe that's what they were.
I'm about to start crying. I really.
You know how like they have
Why? Just because we lost our democracy?
Yeah. I know. I should have seen. I really should have seen it coming.
Do we think that the militaristic vibe came out of her soul or other people's soul?
I think that came out of other people's soul.
You nailed it.
Because that's too well put together.
Yeah. She reads like a face of someone else's.
Yeah. Well, fine piece of leather, well put together.
Yeah.
Homegrown.
So the song was written by Keti Gabisiani and Buka Kartosia.
Yeah, my favorite part of this podcast is Charlie having to pronounce a lot of European languages. Even when Charlie gets it right, it reminds me of there's the moment in Friends when Rachel is moving to Paris and she goes, "Au revoir." Oh, they're really going to hate me over there.
and they do hate me over there.
Au revoir is correct.
But do you want to talk a little bit about the controversy around this song?
There's evidence to show that she's been pro the government that supports Putin.
You're not getting a montage like that unless you're pro-government. She's wearing a red dress. Do your own, connect the dots.
Yeah. Putin sent
a giant
that to her.
red dress with rockets streaming down behind her.
She had come under controversy for performing at functions in support of the Georgian Dream Party. It's an authoritarian party that many feel is too close to Putin. They deny that they are pro-Russian. And to be fair to both sides, when Miriam has been confronted with this, she says that her only ideology is one of peace.
Sure.
You could argue from a purely artistic point an artist performs in front of an audience, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. Of course, the ultimate example is, do you perform in front of the Nazis if you're in the Vichy government in France and but Josephine Baker did, in order to spy on the Nazis and use her cabaret performance as a front for being a spy.
So this is the thing.
This is what we think Miriam is doing.
Yes, if years later we find out that Miriam is a plant by the CIA, I think we can forgive her.
Okay, so next up we have France, which is why I'm introducing it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Luan with Maman.
Quand il me tient la main, j'ai plus peur de rien. Et ça me fait comme avant, quand toi tu me tenais la main. Je vais mieux, je sais où je vais.
Oh, she's hanging like a marionette from something.
Yeah, the sort of Rihanna platform.
It's almost like Joan of Arc burning a little bit. Oh. I thought she was burning for a second.
Listen, that's where my mind goes normally with France.
Good riff. Mama.
Yeah.
Mama. It's like K-pop. You just follow the rhythm.
Oh my God, I can't wait for her BTS collab.
Good mid-tempo. Nice drum. Pounding drum. Oh, wow. I'd listen to more of that. Okay.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
I don't know how to speak French that well. I take Duolingo, but I love the French language. Mm-hmm. It does something to my brain, which makes me happier. I can't explain why, because I didn't grow up around any French people, never studied French until like Duolingo 2 years ago. But when I stopped, I don't feel as good. And I start taking it again, just random French words. It stimulates a different area of my brain.
There's the stereotype of revolution in France, but it's always cuter because it's in French. Like the moment you have like the People's Revolution in Germany, you're just like, it's immediately not cute. But did those words come from her soul?
Well, that's so hard because French people are so soulful. I will say that I'm going to believe in the artist, and I'm going to say she wrote that.
She did.
Okay.
She wrote the
Don't
song
French people.
along with the producer Tristan Salvati, but I also think that this is probably a situation where she fully wrote the song, brought the producer on, and the influence of the producer also added to the songwriting credits.
She wrote it as a tribute to her mother, who died of cancer in 2014 when she was 17. In 2015, the next year, she writes a song called Maman. And it's released as part of her debut album. 10 years later, she pulls that song off of streaming platforms and writes this one, same title. The 2015 song was like very downbeat. It has lyrics like, I'm not well in my head, I've lost my taste for fun, I can't find my meaning. The 2025 song is more positive and upbeat. And the sentiment is, I'm better, I know where I'm going now. And so basically she, over the course of this decade in these two songs, has sort of traced her working through her own grief, which I think is kind of cool.
Oh, and she's doing very well in the odds.
I think cancer death like puts you pretty far up there, you know? Just like
with a good beat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cancer to a beat, let me tell you.
And what a way to debut the song.
Yeah, in that
floating
stadium.
on a platform and stayed in front of 30,000 people or something.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Okay, so now moving to San Marino. This is Tutta l'Italia.
Ma stasera non ritorno, ma sicuro finisco in qualche letto, poi dormo. Siamo tutti dei bravi ragazzi, a posto. Spaghetti.
Did he say spaghetti?
Yep.
Okay. Sure. This is happening. We're gonna let this happen.
Yeah.
Ma con sta roba ci salta tutta l'Italia, tutta l'Italia, tutta l'Italia.
What are our reactions?
Well, everyone's allowed to express themselves, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Is it Tutta la Gabri or Tutta la someone else?
I think it's someone else.
This is Gabri Ponte's song.
Okay.
Gabri Ponte is the DJ who's like center stage. The interesting thing about this song is that the vocalist is actually uncredited on it.
Huh.
So this is almost like a reverse of what you normally get. So the vocalist name is Andrea Bonomo. He is an Italian singer. But where you get like why this form is so outside of what normally you get these days is Gabri Ponte wrote, I don't know if you remember the song I'm Blue. I'm blue, abba-dee, abba-die, ba-da-ba-da.
I'm blue, abba-dee, abba-die, abba-dee, abba-die, abba-dee,
So that's Gabri Ponte.
And not just that, he was Grammy nominated for that.
Yes, he was Grammy nominated for that song. This is like the era of like CNC Music Factory. So the CNC Music Factory song, Everybody Dance Now, right? So that was Martha Wash. In the music video, they literally hired a model to lip sync to her vocal because they wanted like a skinny,
Right, it's like what Hollywood used to do.
Boney M.
Right,
where that guy in Boney M, who's a great dancer, a great viber, but like the German middle-aged guy was like, yeah, I sung all those songs.
Yeah, no, exactly.
He's like, I can't be on stage.
Yeah, it's actually the Milli Vanilli thing too, which actually might be the same German guy.
Was Boney M ever on Eurovision?
No, but a very similar group called Genghis Khan, who had the song Genghis Khan, was in Eurovision. and so they're German as well.
And was it the same German guy who got
different German guy?
We are moving to the UK. And this year's song, "What the Hell Just Happened,"
which is what we're all feeling.
That's a very good question.
And the band's name is Remember Monday.
It's a great name. It's like a toothpaste commercial. The vibe at the beginning. Oh, now we're breaking it down. Okay. When you have a song called What the Hell Just Happened, I expect like, isn't it ironic type lyrics. I expect something that wraps and encapsulates a philosophical state of mind or feeling you have when you don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
The question is, did the toothpaste come from them or someone else?
I will think it came from someone else. When I'm depressed by a song, I accuse corporation.
No, it's not.
I should just say the artist.
Kind of the amazing thing about putting this game together for me, where I was like, I thought there was going to be much more of a correlation.
So the song was band driven. There's producers credited as well.
This has been really fascinating.
Yeah. What are
so
your
much more?
Yeah.
About
What are your
Eurovision.
takeaways?
Just because a song seems corporate doesn't mean it wasn't written by the artist. I did not know there was that much politics involved in Eurovision, but it makes sense. I'm going to be checking for, I guess, Russian paramilitary songs and groups that are sneaking in through Georgia and other Russia-friendly countries. And I'm looking for the delightful surprise of people using indigenous instruments with pop music and mixing it up. Love some of the elements of the Georgia music, even though, Putin Daddy.
Yeah, like
behind that.
Listen, fascists make good music too.
Whether you like the music or not, you can definitely say it's fascinating.
There you go.
All right, Aurin, thank you so much for joining us.
You.
This was great.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to all the participants. And I hope that you kill it in the Eurovision in Switzerland and may the best Mammon win.
He has made the best Mammon win. I love it.
Euroverse.
Thank you so much to Zoe.
Yes.
Thank you to Gojo.
Yes.
Thank you to Ziferblat.
Yes.
And thank you to Aurin. So many people to thank on this episode.
I know. This is why I've stopped thanking you.
And as this press conference literally begins right now.
I just want to say
Happy Eurovision.